Tonight, a risk to reoffend. A man convicted in the death of a teen and for breaching numerous orders. He's about to be released again. Strike over.
It was extremely hard on our members and myself that it impacted the students.
A deal to bring college support staff back to work, but students still seeking compensation.
For all students who have suffered mental strain, physical strain, just educational strain, difficulties with life during this strike.
For the disruption, 20 more officers.
13 sworn officers will be allocated for frontline policing needs.
The request in this year's regional police budget and where the chief says they're needed. Good evening. A man convicted of manslaughter and sexual assault in the death of a 13-year-old in Puslinch will soon begin his statutory release. The parole board has raised concerns about Christopher Watts, his lack of remorse, and his risk to reoffend. But next month, he'll reach the required 2/3 of his sentence. CTV's Krista Simpson's here now to take us through the details of this case. Krista.
Tony, Christopher Watts has already served his original sentence for the events that happened back in 2001. He is now serving a sub-sentence for breaching the conditions of his long-term supervision order, and it is not the first time that he has done that. It was 2001 when Amanda Raymond went to a party at Christopher Watts' home on Puslinch Lake. He gave her drugs that left her in a coma. Watts refused to let anyone call for help and sexually assaulted Raymond, wrote obscene words on her body, and took pictures and video. He was convicted in 2003 of manslaughter, sexual assault, and sexual interference. Watts was sentenced to 12 years. After that followed a 10-year long-term supervision order, which has been suspended more than 10 times due to Watts not following the conditions put on him. He was convicted twice of those breaches, both involving interactions with females under 18 years old. Watts is now nearing the 2/3 mark of his second sub-sentence. While the Parole Board of Canada denied him day parole, he will reach his legislative statutory release date, November 13th. Yet another painful milestone for Raymond's family.
It's just very disheartening, and it is kind of laughable at this point because it just happened so many times, and it feels like it's never going to end for my family.
Watts is now 64 years old. These photos of him were put out by various police forces when he was released in the past, warning of his presence in the community. The Parole Board of Canada's latest decision once again raises concerns about Watts' likelihood to reoffend, stating your risk for general recidivism is in the moderate-high range, your risk for violent recidivism in the high range, and your risk for sexual recidivism is well above average. The documentation also outlines Watts' repeated attempts to change details in his records and his refusal to admit he committed sexual offenses. You are fixated on alleged file errors and ignore your conditions of release and long-term supervision order at will, the Parole Board decision states. At another point it reads, the board asked what you need to do to reduce your risk. You said your risk probably would not change until you get a chance to go to court and change some of the errors in your file.
Even at this point, 24, 25 years later, he still doesn't want to take full responsibility for what he did to my sister.
When Watts receives statutory release, he will have to live in a halfway house or approved psychiatric facility. And he faces a long list of restrictions, including prohibitions around being in places where children and teens are likely to be, or being alone with any female under the age of 18. He's not to go to Toronto, Kingston, or Kitchener-Waterloo without prior written permission from his parole supervisor. He also can't own or use a computer or any devices that take photos, video, or audio recordings. Watts telling the parole board he didn't think all the conditions are necessary. For Raymond's family, each hearing is difficult.
It's so unfair to us, and it's so unfair to Amanda, and I don't know, it's just ridiculous.
While remembering Amanda for the vibrant person she was.
it seemed like everybody knew her, everybody in the neighborhood. She seemed to get along with pretty much everybody.
Watt says he already has a job lined up for when he is released. He's also working on a new career, writing books. In fact, he already has had one published under a pseudonym. It's about navigating arrest and incarceration in Canada. Tony.
All right, Krista Simpson with an update on that case for us. Krista, thank you. Let's take a first look at the weather now. Heading over to Alex Pinto in studio tonight with the very latest. And I don't know. I don't really think I have much to complain about or jump around about today's weather. It was kind of a typical fall day.
It was a seasonal day, sunny day. So if you had a chance to get out and maybe go for a walk, hopefully you did.
Mm-hmm. I did.
It was a pretty nice
So
day.
I should talk about the sun. It was a very nice thing.
And especially being in that direct sunlight too. When we are noticing a little bit chillier, but again, seasonal conditions, it's definitely a little more comfortable. But of course, we want to start with this frost advisory. Not for us here in Waterloo Region, some areas. So Chatham, Kent, some areas of the GTA as well. Milton, Mississauga, Brampton in particular, you are under this frost advisory. So this is when frost may damage frost-sensitive fruit, trees, or some various plants. So this is when we could see temperatures in these areas falling to that near freezing mark, getting into the overnight and early into your Thursday morning. When we look at our satellite and radar map, though, much of southern southwestern Ontario, not too much activity to see. We're enjoying some nice clear sky and all that sunshine out there too, which is pretty nice to see. We could see, though, a little bit of that cloud start to build up later in the week with a chance for a bit of wet weather. We're going to break that all down a little bit later. Tony.
Alex, thank you. Talk to you shortly. The support staff strike at Ontario's 24 public colleges is over. Their union and the College Employer Council have reached a deal. But as CTV's Alexandra Hollick tells us, some students are still looking for compensation for the more than month-long disruption.
Conestoga College's main campus was quiet today. A change of pace after 5 weeks of picketing by full-time support staff. The agreement is tentative and still needs to be ratified. In the meantime, staff are expected to return to work.
They are coming back tomorrow, thankfully. Woohoo!
For Alexis Arch, a first-year pre-health sciences student, the last few weeks haven't been too tumultuous.
My program specifically has had some temporary support staff that were hired on.
But that didn't stop Arch from starting a petition asking for a partial tuition refund for the student supports and services lost in the labor action.
We were just looking for recognition, looking for our voices to be heard.
While the strike may be over, Arch says her message remains unchanged.
We still want to see compensation for all students who have suffered mental strain, physical strain, just educational strain, difficulties with life during this strike.
As for what that compensation may look like,
10 to 20%. So that would even out to around $110 to $220 per student. At the bare minimum, just getting a statement saying, hey, we know this is happening and this is how we're going to make it right.
The local union representing full-time support staff at Conestoga says it's hopeful about the new deal and thanks students for standing by.
It was extremely hard on our members and myself to know that this impacted that it impacted the students, but we were also out there to ensure that the students had those resources.
Conestoga College did not respond to our request for comment. But last week, a spokesperson told CTV News decisions on refunds will be made by the provincial government, not individual colleges. A spokesperson for Ontario's Ministry of Colleges did not comment on the petition, but they say in part, students come first and deserve to receive their education without interruption. Arch says she won't give up to give the students what they deserve.
Statement, compensation, whatever it may be, recognition is all we need, and we're going to get that one way or another.
Alexandra Hollick, CTV News, Kitchener.
Devastating news for thousands of Ontario auto workers. Production of a vehicle set to be made in Brampton will be moved to Illinois. Stellantis had temporarily paused work in the midst of the trade war. Now the company says the Jeep Compass will be built in the U.S. CTV's Sean Leathong reports.
The Stellantis Brampton assembly plant, sitting idle since February, has been dealt a severe blow. production of the Jeep Compass will be moved to the United States.
Disrespectful and disgusting behavior by the company.
The 3,000 Unifor Local 1285 members finding out yesterday afternoon through robocall, the same time as union management.
It's very concerning. We're worried about our plant, but at the end of the day, the company's committed in writing at bargaining to this plant.
Since 2024, the Brampton plant was retooling for the new Jeep SUV. That was put on pause after U.S. President Donald Trump took office. Today, workers we spoke to were too nervous to comment. A restaurant called That Italian Place, located across the street from the Brampton plant, has no shortage of opinions.
The government bailed out all the auto workers section, 10 years ago? And now they're taking and going because Trump, well, someone's got to stand up to this guy. And it's all three of our governments have failed.
Never mind the direct jobs, there's lots of indirect jobs. This cafeteria, for example, this restaurant, it'll have an impact here. Right?
And the owner says business has slowed this past year.
It's devastating for the area. It's devastating for all of the business around the area.
And experts say the knock-on effect will be felt throughout the Canadian auto industry.
There's also hundreds of millions of dollars of investment in parts manufacture that supply that plant.
Now production is moving to a plant in Belvedere, Illinois, whose mayor is celebrating the job growth.
This project has been a long time coming. I've always been hopeful that we would have good news, and this is actually great news.
Job growth coming at the cost of the Brampton facility.
It's going to hurt. It's going to sting. So when we, express concerns about these Trump tariffs, it's real families that are affected.
Unifor National President Lana Payne saying today this is a clear casualty in Donald Trump's trade war.
And Donald Trump has been very clear from the beginning that he was coming for our auto jobs.
As you saw in some of Sean's story, political reaction to that move has certainly been swift. The Canadian government now considering legal action, and Ontario's premier is adamant the company will not get millions of dollars in promised assistance if the move goes ahead. CTV's Siobhan Morris has that part of the story.
The anger over Stellantis' plan to move production of the Jeep Compass to Illinois could mean a trip to court.
Not only am I disappointed, it's completely unacceptable. So we will fight for these jobs.
CTV News has obtained a letter by Jolie to the president of Stellantis today, stressing Stellantis agreed with the governments of Canada and Ontario to maintain its full Canadian footprint, including Brampton, in exchange for substantial financial support. Anything short of that commitment will be considered a default under our agreement.
We will make sure that we push the company and we hold them to account.
Ontario's promised more than $500 million to help Stellantis modernize its plants in Brampton and in Windsor.
I'm not going to give them a penny because it was tied in to making sure Windsor and keep Brampton going.
There are billions more on the table between Ottawa and Queen's Park to fund an EV battery plant in Windsor. The Premier's office considers that a separate question.
I think they need to use that leverage and say, hey, what kind of commitments do we have? And how do we make sure, again, what else could we be doing?
Doug Ford's conversations with the company offer no immediate hope for Stellantis workers in Brampton, who've been laid off for retooling for nearly 2 years.
He said, well, we're going to postpone it for a year. We're going to find a new model. And they're going to try to transfer 1,500 people from Brampton down to Windsor,
where a third shift is being added early in the new year. The opposition pushing the Premier for a more aggressive posture.
We need a sector-specific strategy. His wait-and-see approach just doesn't seem to be working.
For his part, Ford appears frustrated dealing with a president he calls a tyrant, a piece of work.
I am sick and tired of sitting and rolling over.
Premier Ford is scheduled to meet with Prime Minister Mark Carney on Thursday. Ford gave us a preview of the message he intends to share about what he believes needs to happen next.
If you can't get a deal, let's start hitting him back. Let's start hitting the U.S. back hard.
It's not clear if Carney is prepared to put counter tariffs back on the table. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The federal government's launched a new housing design catalog in the hope of speeding up housing developments across the country. Housing Minister Gregor Robertson made the announcement in Kitchener today. The catalog features 50 standardized designs, including row houses, fourplexes, sixplexes, and accessory dwelling units. Each blueprint's curated to different building requirements in 7 regions across the country. Now, the feds say the goal is to build more homes faster to help address the country's housing shortage.
This is a partnership led by the federal government, CMHC, but working with local governments as well to make sure that having standardized designs can speed up the process of approvals.
The minister says several cities, including Kitchener, have already reviewed the designs and support the initiative. As for when shovels could be in the ground locally, well, the city says that's up to developers. A Kitchener MPP went to see firsthand today what people living unsheltered experience every day. Green Party Deputy Leader Ashlyn Clancy's stop at a Better Tent City comes amid skyrocketing rent prices, and just as MPPs get set to discuss her private member's bill, the Homelessness Ends with Housing Act. Let's go to CTV's Karis Mapp live with more on that visit and what Clancy is saying about this bill. Karis.
Well, Tony, Clancy says tackling the homelessness crisis needs to be a collaborative effort. She says while door knocking during the most recent provincial election, one of the top things she heard from residents was their concern about the amount of people facing homelessness in the community. That's why today she stopped by a Kitchener's Better Tent City to hear firsthand from the people this bill would support. Clancy toured the facility made up of roughly 40 cabins that give those experiencing homelessness stability and community. The proposed bill stems from a report from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario that saw over 400 municipalities pleading for help from the provincial government. The bill would establish an advisory committee on homelessness and suggests an increase in affordable housing, as well as established resources to help people pay their rent.
This past year, 80,000 people experienced homelessness, and that number is set to grow to 300,000. It costs our healthcare system, it costs municipalities and businesses, police services, paramedics, fire, and people's lives. People are dying because they don't have access to housing.
A Better Tent City is currently supporting over 50 residents. Clancy's bill passed first reading in May, and MPPs are set to take it up next week when the legislature resumes sitting. Tony.
Karis Mapp live with that update. Karis, thank you. It looks like 40 will not be the new 50 in the Festival City. Coming up, why Stratford has pulled back on a plan to lower speed limits across town.
Sunny and seasonal for your Wednesday, but some under a frost advisory this evening. We'll break it down in your full forecast coming up in just a bit.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We go to a dramatic scene unfolding.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVKitchener.ca, your home for news.
Waterloo Regional Police are hoping to add 20 new officers to their ranks next year in what the chief calls high-demand areas. Now, that plan is just one part of the 2026 police budget, which asks Regional Council for a total of $20 million more for next year. CTV's Heather Senerin live now with details on this. Heather, that entire police spending plan is a considerable total.
The proposed operating budget for next year is over $272 million, Tony. It represents about 30% of the total tax levy for the regional portion of the municipal tax bill. It was presented at the Police Services Board this morning.
Waterloo Regional Police proposed a $272.6 million budget for 2026, $20.1 million more compared to last year. The average household could be on the hook for about $57 more in taxes.
This equates to a tax impact on the police portion of the property tax bill of approximately 6.75% based upon the latest assessment growth information we have received.
Included in that plan, the hiring of 20 new uniform officers for high-demand policing areas.
13 sworn officers will be allocated for frontline policing needs, 6 to investigative services, and then one half member for the public safety team, one half to the org culture division.
According to the chief, it's needed as the community continues to grow.
So that was our starting point for recognizing that is a sustainable level of growth, recognizing that all the metrics for, say, officer to population all the criminal caseload and all those needs continue to be present year over year across the organization.
Last year, there was some criticism from regional councillors over staffing in the police budget. At the police board meeting Wednesday, the chief said he was very confident that 20 positions that they're asking for would be filled if approved.
Heading into this year, we had hired all those who were authorized in our budgetary process. And heading into 2025, we have sustained that level of full authorized staffing, meaning that we have hired every officer and civilian that the budget has allowed.
The next time the police board will discuss their proposed budget will be next month. The goal is to have it finalized by December before it goes to regional council for approval.
The police chief noted that next month there will be a deeper discussion about the hiring plans in the coming years. He says there's a 4 to 5 year plan in the works that would likely start in 2027 to match the projected growth of the region. Tony.
Okay, Heather Centerin sorting through those numbers for us. Heather, appreciate it. Thank you. It's been done in Waterloo, Kitchener, and Cambridge, but Stratford is hitting the brakes on a plan to lower speed limits on its residential streets. The city says it isn't ready to make a full shift from 50 down to 40. CTV's Jeff Pickle tells us why.
It's an issue on residential streets everywhere.
There's cars parked right across from us here. There's kids walking down the street to a park.
People driving too fast near vulnerable pedestrians.
There's a school around the corner, and vehicles, including buses, can go 50 kilometers an hour down this street.
This week, the city of Stratford considered lowering the residential speed limit from 50 to 40 kilometers an hour.
There's definitely support from staff. There's support from the police. There's support from community groups.
Data presented to council shows a pedestrian hit by a vehicle traveling at 40 kilometers an hour has a 35% better survival rate. But council says due to budget concerns, now is not the time to make a citywide shift, opting instead for a pilot project.
To bring back a report with ways that we could do a pilot project in a sector of the city which is experiencing some difficulties with traffic and get some feedback.
Those who spoke in favor of lowering the speed limit say they understand the city's position but believe they could do more.
Well, I'm a perennially positive person, so I'm not going to lie. I woke up a little disappointed this morning thinking, oh, if only we'd brought it over the line.
Mel Rooney and Councillor McCabe agree uncertainty over the future of automatic speed cameras has complicated the issue.
Having the traffic camera program shut down currently by the current premier is a blow to many municipalities who were going to rely on that for traffic calming measures. In a way,
McCabe says he is hopeful to include speed cameras in the future plans to allow police to focus on other priorities.
That is something that can be easily done with technology and makes our streets much safer.
City staff will come back to council with an updated plan on a date yet to be determined. Jeff Pickle, CTV News, Stratford.
All right, let's take a live look outside right now. We can see that sunset, which of course is getting earlier and earlier, peeking through the trees as more of those leaves begin to change color and fall off too. Yeah, the signs of fall are all around us. And why not? We're a month into the season now. Alex is back to tell us about how the rest of the week looks weather-wise in just a moment. Also coming up, a made-in-Kitchener medical device gets licensed by Health Canada. CTV's Spencer Turcotte tells us about the camera that's created a lot of buzz in the medical community. And next, revealing new details about a pipeline of meth from Canada to New Zealand. Avery Haynes with part 1 of a W5 investigation. Well, now I feel silly saying earlier that I had nothing to say about the weather because you reminded me we got a good dose of sunshine today.
We did, but it's okay. It's a short week.
It's a short week. Yeah. So we'll take any sun we can get, and that wasn't quite feeling warm, but it was almost feeling not cool. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, seasonal. So good news there. But it felt a little bit warmer when you were in that direct sunlight, making it feel like it was maybe, above that 13 degrees, which was our daytime high for
today. Remember what the middle of October usually feels like?
Yes, so we're going to take it. We're going to enjoy days like this. And looking outside right now as well, as we take our live shot in Uptown Waterloo. Well, It's looking pretty good still. We're noticing a few clouds out there, but that sun's still shining and temperatures pretty comfortable. Maybe you want to go out for an evening walk, grab that light sweater or layer up a little bit or so. I always run a little bit cooler and feel like I need a sweater and maybe a jacket too. But overall, yes, we are enjoying a seasonal sunny day. And it looks like we're going to be in those seasonal temperatures for a little bit longer before potentially getting a little bit warmer once again. But before we get there, frost advisory impacting some people. So Chatham, Kent, if you are there, or Mississauga, Brampton area, you are under this frost advisory as we get into the overnight hours. So we can see temperatures potentially falling near that freezing mark early tomorrow morning in particular. So this frost potentially could damage really frost-sensitive fruit, trees, or plants in particular. So that's not in place for us here in Waterloo Region, but just a few areas to note. Looking at our futurecast, though, getting into the rest of the evening, yeah, a little bit of cloud cover just expected to stick with us before clearing, getting into the overnight into your Thursday. It's really not until Friday we could see potentially some more cloud cover. And then at some point in the weekend, at least at this point, we are seeing potentially some wet weather that could be on our way. So this is a system we're going to be keeping an eye on. Our futurecast is showing Friday is potentially when we could see some rain. Environment Canada at this point and Climate Change Canada reporting Sunday for us here in Waterloo Region. So we're going to keep a closer eye on that. We are starting to dip down 12 degrees for us here in Kitchener-Waterloo. Many other areas across southern southwestern Ontario sitting in that teen range as well, which is seasonal for this time of year. Again, 13 degrees, that was our daytime high. We did hit that around 2 o'clock this afternoon for us here in Waterloo Region. So overnight 0 is what we are expected to drop down to. Clear conditions, winds fairly light coming from the north. And then looking ahead to tomorrow, more sunshine in store. High of 14 degrees expected. That UV index, we are sitting at a moderate level of a reading of 4 once again. So like we see when we're taking a look at our almanac, we are pretty much seasonal for this time of year, sitting at that 13-degree daytime high, record high 26.7. That was set back on this day in 1947. And we're also noticing that sun setting after 6:30 now. Hard to believe. Okay, over the next few days, once we get to enjoy a bit more sunshine for tomorrow, that's when we could see a little bit more cloud cover with a high of 15 degrees for your Friday. And for Lambton, Kent, and Essex, mainly sunny sky when we look at your Thursday, high of 16 degrees. A little bit of a chilly overnight, dropping down to 2. But then take a look at your Friday, going back up overnight to 12. So definitely going to be an above seasonal day to kick off the weekend for you. And southern Georgian Bay, plenty of sunshine expected tomorrow, high of 14 degrees before you could see a chance for some wet weather rolling in on Friday. And here is tonight's Weather Watcher picture. This is Sky enjoying the water in Port Elgin. Dawn sending us this photo over the Thanksgiving long weekend. Some really nice weather for playing fetch and maybe going for a little bit of a swim. So thank you so much, Dawn, for sending this and being tonight's Weather Watcher. And Sky looks like one happy pup.
Oh, absolutely. And Sky's probably a little braver than any of us would be to jump into the water at this time of year, but always time to go fetch, right?
Right, definitely. And yeah, maybe chilly to us, but I'm sure it's comfortable with that coat.
Most likely, you bet. All right, thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Okay, turning now to a new W5 investigation, and it begins with a shocking revelation. Canada is the biggest drug exporter of meth to New Zealand. In part 1, Avery Haynes investigates how the death of an innocent young man in Auckland exposed the Canadian cartel pipeline.
At a storage unit in Auckland, New Zealand, a man carries out cases of beer from Canada. Just days later, an innocent victim would die from that beer.
My brother was charismatic, the life of the house.
21-year-old Aidan Segala lived with his sister Angela and brother-in-law Billy in Auckland. One day, Aidan came home with free beer that his boss had given him. He took one gulp.
He was screaming out, I want my mom, I want my mom. I'm dying, I want mom.
I say, Mom! And I say, yeah, I'm here. I'm here, son. I'm here.
Rushed to hospital, Aidan spent 6 days in a coma. He died of multiple organ failure from a lethal dose of methamphetamine, an illegal and highly addictive synthetic stimulant. Aidan's brother-in-law started dumping out the cans. Some were filled with beer, but not all.
And I was like, hey, wait, this looks like liquid glue. that's coming out of this can.
Police raided the rented storage unit where Aiden's manager had been captured on camera removing cases of beer. An officer videotapes and describes the staggering scene they found inside.
It was very confined. I could barely walk around.
Towering pallets of beer made in Canada, complete with the maple leaf logo, and white crystals blanketing almost every surface. Buckets of it. 700 kilos of liquid meth being crystallized.
You have the right to remain silent.
Aiden Segala's manager, later convicted of manslaughter, was getting rid of the excess beer, not knowing some cans still contained meth. New Zealand is in the midst of a meth crisis, and shockingly, Canada is fueling that addiction. The two largest busts in New Zealand history both originated in Canada, hidden in beer and this.
These 713 kilos of meth came from Canada, hidden in maple syrup.
It's kind of sad in some ways that we keep coming and saying we're getting bigger and bigger seizures.
In 2023, New Zealand seized more meth from Canada than anywhere else in the world. In 2024, the most intercepts involved meth from Canada, 171, about 3 meth seizures from Canada every single week.
Just this tonnage coming our way out of Canada.
Detective Superintendent Greg Williams is the director of New Zealand's National Organised Crime Group.
You have a reasonably dynamic organised crime environment in Canada. From what we're seeing, the scale of it, you've got some really significant sophistication up there.
Some incredible reporting there from Avery Haynes. And tonight, if you'd like to see more of it, Avery follows the meth pipeline from Canada to New Zealand, chasing leads that police here didn't follow. That's tonight at 11 on CTV National News. And later this hour on CTV News, Oktoberfest celebrations in Cambridge. The city takes its turn tapping into Bavarian heritage with a special guest to help get the party going. In Ottawa, the federal Conservatives have set their sights on youth unemployment, now at a 15-year high and more than double the national rate. They've come up with a plan they say will improve job prospects. CTV's Abigail Beeman looks at the issue and the proposal.
Keep your hand up if you've applied to more than 20 jobs already.
The latest jobs numbers don't surprise this group of university students.
I must have applied to like 70 jobs or something like that, and most of them just don't get back to you.
Then you have to really push and be desperate for the job if you really want to get anything. And even then, there's all these AI screenings.
While Canada's unemployment rate sits at 7.1%, Statistics Canada puts youth unemployment at 14.7%, the highest since 2010, excluding COVID years.
We are calling on the government to take our constructive ideas and include them in Budget 2025.
The Conservatives released the rest of their youth jobs plan today. New pieces include a 1-year 100% capital cost tax write-off for employers that build housing for employees, and a change to the federal grant and loan financial assistance program to give more help for in-demand fields.
The government should establish a process for making objective determinations about what areas of study are more or less likely to lead to positive career outcomes.
Tax incentives. This is the solution that both Conservatives and Liberals have provided for basically every economic problem for decades.
This economist would like to see a bigger picture response, focus on creating demand, while these students give the Conservative plan mixed reviews.
I think providing housing would give us more opportunities to get those jobs in smaller cities.
You can see a lot of, particularly the schools, pulling away from focusing on the arts, and I feel like by the Conservatives promoting this kind of plan, it may even further that.
The Jobs Minister's office tells CTV News the Liberal government has created more than 130,000 job opportunities for young people and promises more to say on youth unemployment soon. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Time to recap our top stories. CTV's Heather Centerin joining us in studio with the latest. And Heather, we're going to begin with the latest on a man who was convicted of manslaughter and sexual assault after the death of a teen who's now about to have a statutory release.
Christopher Watts served his 12-year sentence for the death of Amanda Raymond, but remains behind bars after breaching his long-term supervision order. That breach included contacting and working with a female under the age of 16. When Watts receives statutory release, he will have to live in a halfway house or approved psychiatric facility, and he faces a long list of restrictions. Raymond's family tells CTV News they feel it's unfair to them and unfair to Amanda. A deal has been reached to end the college support staff strike. The union and the College Employer Council announcing the deal, marking the end of a 5-week strike, but some students are still looking for compensation over the disruption. The tentative agreement is set to be voted on November 4th.
Heather, looking at what our online team is working on, an update on Nicholas Shipman, who was serving time for a triple homicide case from Six Nations.
Shipman died in prison on October 2nd, but Correctional Services Canada didn't release the cause of his death. Shipman was serving 18 years for the killing of 3 people from Six Nations of the Grand River in 2018. For more information on this story, you can scan the QR code in the bottom left of your screen or visit our website, ctvnewskitchener.ca. Tony.
Okay, CTV's Heather Centerin in studio. Thank you, Heather. Big things are on the way for a tiny camera. Last year, we told you about a made in Kitchener medical imaging device, which allows doctors to see inside blood vessels. Now, as CTV's Spencer Turcotte tells us, it's been licensed by Health Canada.
Previously, this patient had multiple strokes beforehand.
As a super thin camera weaves through the blood vessels of a patient's brain, vital information is uncovered.
The cause of the stroke has been identified, and this is what's called an ulceration.
The venomicroangioscope is the only tiny camera, though, that's able to go inside the small blood vessels in someone's brain.
Physicians often rely on fluoroscopy, which essentially relays a 2D black and white image, but this high-tech camera developed in Kitchener is less than 1 millimeter in diameter and provides a high-resolution, real-time, full-color look inside.
Well, you might have an obstruction in an artery, but you don't know what it is. So it could be a blood clot, it could be some sort of plaque. So if you treat it properly the first time, with this new information, the patient could do better.
Over 40 procedures across Canada have been completed with the camera, and now an exciting breakthrough, full Health Canada clearance.
It allows us to roll it out across Canada, sort of barrier-free, and bring this technology to more patients. So it's the only angioscope that's sort of rated for the neurovasculature.
We're not just miniaturizing the actual catheter itself, we're miniaturizing the technology.
So with the microangioscope now available for sale and clinical use in Canada, it shows that a little camera can go a long way with the most complex of procedures. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Kitchener.
All right, switching gears now. We're just a couple of hours away from Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, it's not the end of the line after tonight, but it is getting close if they don't get a win this evening. They're down 2-0 in this best-of-7 series. Let's go live now to CTV's Andrew Johnson at T-Mobile Park in Seattle. Game time approaching. Andrew, good to see you. What's the mood like down there tonight?
Well, Tony, the Jays have just wrapped up batting practice. There is excitement and apprehension here. I think excitement from Mariners fans. They are potentially 2 wins away from their first ever World Series. Jays fans desperate to not go down 0-3 in the series after those 2 tough games at Rogers Centre, and there are a lot of Jays fans here. It's a 2.5-hour drive from Metro Vancouver to this ballpark. Thousands come for every Mariners game involving the Jays, sometimes outnumbering Mariners fans. We're looking at a lot of Jays fans in the crowd today. They say they're worried, they're nervous, they think the team can come back. Toronto will need to take 2 of 3 here, Tony, to push this back to Rogers Centre. But right now, down 0-2, about 80-85% of teams never come back from that. So they need to get the offense going, and they'll need a strong start tonight from Shane Bieber on the mound.
Okay, and Andrew, of course, I mean, you're our BC bureau chief. You would know on a regular basis about the pilgrimage that people make from BC to Seattle to see Major League Baseball. Are you getting a sense that there is an Eastern contingent there hoping to cheer them on as well?
We've definitely spoken to people flying from across the country. I spoke to a guy from Winnipeg who flew to Vancouver and then took the bus down from Vancouver. So planes, trains, and automobiles. There was an extra ferry sailing from Victoria, BC, special for this game today. So as well as the big fans from Ontario coming, people from all over Canada into Western Canada making their way here. And apparently at this ballpark at some point, they even sold Jays merchandise. That's how big the Toronto contingent is in this region. I don't think that happens anymore. It didn't go over well with Mariners fans. So crossing the fingers tonight, the Blue Jays can get back into this series.
Yeah, and like we were saying, Andrew, you know, it's not the end of the line after tonight, but it's awfully close. Is there a sense of urgency among the team, among the players, among the, you know, the coaching and pitching staff?
Well, we just heard from Jays manager John Schneider, who said he trusts in his starter tonight, Shane Bieber, the two-time Cy Young winner. They got in at the trade deadline just for situations like this, to come up big when it matters, to be a calming presence in the locker room. He said he also trusts his team to refresh in a new day, shake off what's happened over the past two, and come out strong. So certainly they're optimistic on the surface. They have to know, of course, down deep, if you go down 3-0 in a best of 7, it really is back against the wall. Must win to stay alive. It's close to that, as he said tonight. We're not quite there, but we're close. The Jays really need a win here.
CTV's Andrew Johnson is live at T-Mobile Park in Seattle. It's been great. You've got good access there on the field, too. It's been great having you set the scene for us, Andrew. Enjoy the game tonight and take care.
We're about to be kicked off. You just made it. Thank you.
Good timing. That's why we made some last-minute juggling around here. All right, we are back in just a moment. Big turnout in Cambridge today as the city officially celebrated its Oktoberfest party with a keg tapping and luncheon outside City Hall. The German ambassador to Canada was also on hand as Oktoberfest looks to grow its events in Cambridge. CTV's Colton Weens reports.
The city of Cambridge officially welcoming Oktoberfest back to the community for 2025.
I just love the spirit here. You know, the way the people have embraced this, and it grows every year, and people are looking for a very happy time. And it's not like a fest hall atmosphere. This is about people meeting their neighbors.
We come every year and just like the whole atmosphere because it's not a big tent with all kinds of noise and everything. It's just a nice, fun day.
It involves everybody, not just one population. That way it pulls everybody in.
It's great, actually. We don't have to go up to Kitchener, and we've got something here locally, so.
The annual Cambridge Oktoberfest lunch welcoming more visitors than recent years, handing out 1,300 free sausages and bringing the Bavarian spirit to City Hall.
I'm a retired musician, and it's still in my blood. The music, the German music, the beer drinking music.
I just hope we don't run out of sausages today, because this is a much longer lineup than we normally have.
And while they did run out of sausages and buns, almost everyone seemed to get fed.
I'm very happy to see that all of these lovely sausages, and I tried one, are given out for free to the population, so to really build a bridge between the Oktoberfest and the people of Cambridge. I think that's a lovely initiative and a great idea.
In past years, the event has kicked off festivities in the region, but this year, the city pushed it for a week so the German ambassador to Canada could attend.
I'm impressed how the German heritage is being cherished in this place.
It's great because we have a lot of heritage here that is German background and Scottish background, and there's a lot of things that we have in common.
Another major turnout this year, Oktoberfest, there's also plans in the works to grow the number of events and the size of the events here in the city of Cambridge.
We're going to grow this. Every year we're going to grow this and get this bigger.
They would like to expand and have a big festival hall here like we used to have many, many years ago. So we're open to that, so we'll see where that goes.
Colton Weens, CTV News, Cambridge.
All right, let's check in with Alex now.
A great day to enjoy some Oktoberfest festivities there in Cambridge, sitting in the teens right now. This hour, I'll let you know how cool it could get first thing in the morning, and wake up weather coming up after the break. Stick around tonight for The Floor, airing at 7 o'clock before shifting gears at 8. Then back-to-back episodes of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. And then stick around for The Amazing Race at 9:30.
5K at
Day is back on 105.3
Virgin Radio.
Listen to Jeff, KP, and Backstage Ben for your chance to win $5,000.
Every weekday.
$5K a day.
Virgin Radio.
All right, Heather Centerin's back with us now with a look at what our team's following for later tonight. Heather.
CTV's Karis Map will have more on local MPP Ashlyn Clancy touring a better tent city in Kitchener before her homelessness ends with housing bill heads back to Queen's Park next week. Also tonight, we're keeping an eye on Seattle as the Toronto Blue Jays take on the Mariners in Game 3 of their best-of-7 series. The Jays are down 2-0 going into tonight's matchup. We'll have a live report from Seattle at 11:30. Tony.
All right, Heather, thank you so much. Yes, we are looking forward to that. We're going to be joined by Melissa Duggan at 11:30, who's in Seattle, to hopefully tell us something good.
Some good news. Fingers crossed. We want some good news.
All right, what's the weather news looking like?
Yeah, so obviously today a nice sunny day and seasonal day. Looking at tomorrow, and first thing in the morning as we start with your wake-up weather, a little chilly one, 6 a.m., 1 degree. We are expected to. So overnight we should be hitting around 0 or so slightly warming up a little bit, if you will. Clear conditions, and then by 10 a.m., nice sunny sky. Sitting at about 7 for tomorrow, but more sunshine in store and can't complain about that.
And to bring out another silver lining, I liked that we saw a 20 in the 7-day forecast, because anytime you're getting into the back half of October and you see a 20-degree high, that's a big win.
A little bit of a warm-up coming towards you.
We'll hope to tell you about more weather wins, and we'll hope to tell you about a baseball win of a certain variety tonight at 11:30 as well. We'll be back then right after the CTV National News. Have a great night. Take care.